I have a special guest today joining me on Primetime Local News. Harmolik Brar is here. Harmolik is the Chief Risk Officer with Synergy Credit Union. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Stacey.
I would like to talk today about fraud and some specific fraud that has been happening that you guys have been, it's been brought to your attention within Synergy Credit Union. One of the biggest scams that seems to be happening is the grandparent scam. And unfortunately, there are many people who are being victims or have been victims because of this. So can you talk a little bit about what this scam is?
Most definitely. So this scam usually involves a grandparent or a parent getting a call, usually from a distressed family member who's in a precarious situation, and they need money right away. And what ends up happening is the bad actor or whoever else is involved in the scam usually tells the person, the vulnerable person, that they aren't to talk to anybody else about this. They're not to tell any of their family members. They're not to tell their financial institution. They're not to tell the authorities what's going on, but only follow their direction to go get the money and either deposit it or transact it in the way the scammer wants so that they get what they need. And then ultimately, the grandparent or the parent is usually left in a situation where they think they're helping their loved one, but it turns out that they're just getting scammed out of their savings.
Now, there have been some incidences of this happening from the clients at Synergy. Do you know roughly how much has been lost, or can you give me an estimate of what these people ask for in the scams, or is it different every time?
It is different. It does vary, but so far what I can tell you is we have seen folks lose in the thousands related to this scam. So it's usually not small amounts. Sometimes it could be small, but what we've seen is in the thousands, unfortunately.
Now, because this preys on a lot of older people, and it may be people who, as soon as they get the information, they just follow along right away, and they are instructed to not call their loved ones, so they don't. How can this be prevented? Can you give us like some tips on what these people could do if they get these calls, even if it seems like it's urgent and they're told not to tell anybody else?
Yeah, for this particular scam, it's good to have a bit of a plan in place with your loved ones, especially those that are older, and talk to them about it in the event that they are to get a phone call of this nature, to hang up immediately, not to follow any of the instructions, and to actually contact a trusted family member to find out what's truly going on. So that's one measure to protect themselves. The other piece is around just pausing. Just stop, pause, and breathe, and just reflect on the situation. It's usually not that urgent as sometimes the bad actor makes it seem, but they want to draw that urgency to it so that the person on the other end of the phone will react immediately, go get the money, and give them what they need. So that's the other piece around it, just to pause and reflect. But again, it goes back to this basic verbiage that I talk about. If a stranger calls you and asks you for money, if they showed up to your door and asked you for it, you wouldn't hand over thousands right away. So why would you do that over the phone, and why would you follow through on it? So again, have a bit of a plan and action in place with your loved ones and talk to them about the scam, educate them and inform them on what's going on. But if you ever receive these phone calls, just hang up immediately or just pause and stop if you need to actually think through the incident, but have a plan in place.
Is there any recourse once this happens and someone is scammed out of their money? If none of these people are charged, is there a way to get that money back? Or once it's gone, is it gone?
It depends on how the transaction is done. So most of the time, the scammers will ask for the money to be deposited to them or transacted to them through Bitcoin. Bitcoin can't be traced, and so it makes it that much harder for even authorities to trace the money or catch the perpetrator. So it depends on that. Again, the best rule of thumb is don't send your money to anybody that you don't know. That's the simple rule of thumb to follow. I mean, again, if you do find yourself to be a victim of a fraud of this sort, to talk to your financial institution, and they will guide you through the steps that you need to take to report the incidents to the authorities and so on and so forth.
When it comes to education about these scams, obviously the grandparent scam isn't the only one. Are people in the branch open to chatting with their customers about, even just having them come in and give them tips on what they could be looking for in the future? Say if people are concerned that their elderly parents could be in a position where they might get scammed, can they make appointments and say, "Hey, we'd like to chat with somebody just to go over a few things and give them the help that they need more, I guess, as a preventative measure?"
Most definitely. Our branch members and our teams at all of our branches are very aware of what's happening in the fraud space. So they're more than happy to have those conversations with our members to educate them on it. They're also quite intuitive. So when someone does come to our branches and ask for large sums of transactions and are weary about sharing that information, they will ask some questions. So it's also incumbent on our members and those that we interact with just to be forthcoming with that information, as embarrassing it may seem, or as precarious it may seem because of what the fraudster has told them to do. Be forward and truthful about the information. We can actually help you at that point more so, since after the fact it's a bit harder to do. The other pieces are on our Synergy website. The Synergy Credit Union website has a section on fraud awareness and how to better protect yourself. So we have some great resources online, as well as the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center on being aware of scams and how to protect yourself, and also what to do if in the unfortunate event you are a victim of a fraud.
Well, Harmolik, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today. If people are looking for that information, can you give us the link to the website just so they know where to go and check it out?
You bet. It should be on your screen right now. And so if folks go to that link, or as well as the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, they should be able to get more information. And again, if there's any additional questions they have, they can reach out to our teams at Synergy Credit Union to get more information to better educate or inform themselves.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, everybody can get a handle on this and know the information ahead of time. Your financial institution at Synergy has been fantastic in getting the word out. So here's hoping we can bring an end to these and these scammers who are unfortunately finding so many victims in the area. It's a very sad thing. So thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and on behalf of myself and Synergy Credit Union, thank you for getting this word out on this important subject. So I appreciate your help with this.